So, for example, storytelling, I can train with Native American storytellers, Bo East and Pat Quinn. They have nothing to do with the military, but now I'm building out a body of work that started in that world, but it's actually what I'm most proud of now, and probably what I talk about the most is my time on stage, writing, learning new techniques to connect with people, breath work. I mean, I know it's not as kinetically exciting, but it is for my craft and where I think I'm relevant. It's everything, and that's just for me. That's kind of how I choose to come at it. And I know that there are, most billets in the country that people would think because I'm a GWAT veteran, I'm qualified. I know I'm not. There's no way. Yeah. And I just try not to even go there.
I mean, I can tell people how many rounds they should probably shove in an M4 mag or a 9mm round, into a pistol mag. But other than that, I'd be real cautious listening to me.
Right. Right. Yeah. We just did a little, our nonprofit did. We just did a little book we called it The Gathering Storm. And it was because the residual efforts that have happened over the last 4 years of just staying on the phone with abandoned assets has bubbled up an intel picture that is so radically competing with what the USGIC is saying. It's like, wow, this is not good. And so we decided, you know what, we're going to put together a small little book that gives our thoughts as veterans on what we're hearing and what people might want to be thinking about based on the stuff that's coming out of that. But there was so much of it, Andy, where, like, for example, if you because there's a lot of speculation that an October 7 style attack will be the ISIS choice. Look at Crocus Music Hall in Russia. Like, there's a real propensity for localized complex attacks that look a lot more like October 7 than September 11.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus in both the IC and people peripherally connected. Yeah.
Right. So what we've heard through just different reporting and speculation, and then I interviewed a lot of first responders to October 7, the Nova Music Festival. And so I was able to pose some pretty, I think, compelling questions. Like, for example, if you have a Beslan school siege type situation with explosives on the gymnasium goals and children sitting in the middle of the gym, and your SWAT team is moving to take that down, and 3 ISIS guys jump in your stack yelling blue, 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 dressed just like you, what are you going to do about that? Like, how? I have no clue, but I know that happened in certain other situations, and we best be thinking about it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you want to talk about a scenario that I never trained for is some rogue dude in the stack. I mean, come on now.
Exactly. And I've got a ton of SWAT guys coming back at me going, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Like you can see their wheels just smoking. And, I know full well that's for them to solve. And I have no even close to capability to even participate in that conversation other than, hey, synthesized information, this is what we're hearing, you might want to be thinking about. And then I'm out. And that's kind of where I've left it on the tactical side. And I feel it feels really good in the sense that it's kind of like, okay, these last 4 years, I got pulled back into this thing. That's kind of how I'm leaving it. I'm going to go back to my play now. Have a good time storming the castle.
Yeah. I'm curious, in the work you've done since you've been out with the people not associated with the military, where, like you said, it's the breath work or communication or writing. Have you encountered anything that you actually would implement into the SF pipeline that you think would be beneficial to people going through? 100%.
In fact, one of the things that was really funny was I for a couple of years, in fact, I was teaching at the Q course, 18 Alpha captain candidates on human connection and rapport building. And it was a lot of the stuff that I was learning in theater, but I didn't tell them that. I just, because
that's a good call, because they would have been like,
not doing
next class,
not doing it. But let me tell you what I mean by that, though, like as an example. Okay. So one of the things that a lot of our guys go through when they have to engage in a high stakes engagement, and this isn't just SF guys, this is anybody that's going in, whether you're negotiating with an ambassador, you're briefing them on your, special ops, a SEAL platoon, you're going to brief your in-country plan to the, to the DCO, right, of an embassy. That's a pretty high stakes brief, right? And you may be like an 03 or whatever, and you're going in to brief that. team sergeant, and you're way up here. So you look like the anxiety level and just the stress level of that can be really high. So a lot of what we saw in the Q course was we were losing candidates that were not building rapport with the role players because they looked like they didn't trust themselves. And that's a very common thing for speakers in corporate America, in the theater. So what we did was we put together this technique that I call pre-engagement preparation, right? So what you do is you step, if you know you're going into this engagement in like 5 minutes, you're going to be on the stage, or you got to meet this high-level official or an elder, you step off for just a kind of off the beaten path, close your eyes, you do 3 diaphragmatic breaths through your mouth, which sets you down in a parasympathetic state. And then you say, I have time 3 times. And that's called temporal pacing. And it like slows down your rate of speech so that you're actually present. And then you ask yourself 3 questions and you answer them out loud. Who am I? Why am I here? And what does this person need from me? So right before you walk in the room, you validate your identity. You remind yourself of why you're going in there. And your last conscious thought is about what the other party needs in the engagement. So that's what you're not in your head, and when we saw such an increase in like the way guys were engaging, and I've had guys come back from downrange, tell me they use it. And I use it now in every industry. But the point is, law enforcement use it. It's a cool little, and it takes 3 minutes, but I would have killed for that, honestly, in a lot of my KLEs and things. But there was nothing like that. Even when you go through the Q course, really, you're graded on rapport, but you're not really taught rapport.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds fair. I mean, the jobs by doctrine are different. There is no Q course in the SEAL pipeline. I mean, you guys are the experts in FID for sure, and the by, with, and through. I mean, technically, I'm supposed to be an expert in hydrographic reconnaissance. I am hydrophobic, actually. I'm done with the water in every form except for ice cubes at this point.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all my deployments were somewhere where there was not a lot of water or opportunity, thankfully, for hydrographic reconnaissance. But yeah, it's great that you could easily, though, I'm thinking about the pipeline.